How we doing? How we doing? This is Destination Denver, Colorado, and today the people have spoken. And here are the 10 best suburbs close to Denver, Colorado, and we're starting right now. All right, this is Destination Denver, Colorado. I'm your host, Jimmy Everson. Listen, if you're interested in learning all the ins and outs, pros and cons to moving to or around Denver, Colorado, then this is the channel for you. So that subscribe button and notification icon you see on your screen, make sure you click on that as I'm dropping new videos for you each and every week. And as much as I try to be a little informative here on camera, I'm also a licensed mortgage broker covering the entire state of Colorado and team with some of the Denver Metro's most talented realtors. And we're helping people move here each and every day. So the number and email you see on your screen, know that I am always the person, answer your phone calls, answer your texts, answer your emails, there when and if you need me. Now that we have that fun-filled stuff out of the way, let's get to what we're here for, and that is the 10 best suburbs close to Denver, Colorado. So one of the most common starting points for people looking to move to Denver, and one of the conversations I tend to have more often, is just getting an idea of what suburbs, what areas, where people should be looking. And obviously it's pretty hard when you're looking at a city on a map for the first time. Maybe you visited, but you don't know the area well, to know all these little pockets of suburbs. So I went to, obviously, my experience being a native here, friends, colleagues, and people who moved from out of state, had them vote on their favorite suburbs, and put this list together. So today's objective is not to give you these in-depth looks at each one. It's to give you a general idea of them, let you point to it on a map, and give you a place to start. So having said that, we're gonna start kind of close and work our way out. And number one on the list is Glendale, Colorado. So Glendale is a pretty interesting suburb because it's actually surrounded by Denver. It's only a handful of blocks in size. It's its own small little utopia, if you will. It's got its own little city or town council, a lot of different things going on there, restaurants, shops, even a couple nightclubs. And it's one of the more popular places because of the apartments, different townhomes, single family homes that are available. But Glendale is one of the more popular suburbs because you're not really in the suburbs. You're still surrounded by Denver proper. Glendale is also extremely close getting to downtown, blocks away from Cherry Creek, and you're also very close to the Denver Tech Center. Second up on the list is Englewood, Colorado. Englewood is directly south of Denver. If you take Broadway out of Denver, which then turns into South Broadway, you will eventually hit Englewood. So Englewood obviously has very direct access to the city itself. People like it for that. And Englewood has a variety of different living options. What I mean by that is you can find neighborhoods where the homes have been around for decades upon decades, and you can still find a lot of new construction or homes that have been scraped and redeveloped. So a lot of options within Englewood. The location being south of Denver, again, that quick access to Denver, quick access south to Greenwood Village in the Denver Tech Center, and obviously you have the mountains just to your west. So whereas our first example of Glendale is this small microcosm of a community, Englewood has some size to it. So you're gonna have a lot of different neighborhoods to choose from. Population of Englewood sits around 34,000. And like I said, a lot of different options as far as schools, as far as neighborhoods, as far as locations. A couple of the more popular, as South Broadway hits 285, or what we call Hamden, is a big economic center. A lot of jobs, community centers, town centers, shopping, restaurants. So Englewood's gonna have amenities near there. Also, that stretch of road where South Broadway and Hamden hits is Englewood's downtown. So you've got that nice stretch of road, walkability, shops, all the things. Third up on the list, obviously I had to include my home, and not just because I voted on it, but Lakewood, Colorado is our third up. Due west of Denver, Lakewood connects to Denver, and on the other side of Lakewood, you get into towns like Golden and Morrison and up into the mountains. So Lakewood is one of the larger suburbs you're going to find in the Denver metro area. Population sitting around 155,000. Lakewood, really grew as Denver grew. So starting around the 50s, the town itself hadn't been incorporated yet, but you started seeing homes built in that time. So a lot of homes, 50s, 60s, And then it formed a ring. So the farther you get out from Lakewood, you have these rings of homes built in the 60s, built in the 70s, built in the 80s. For newer construction homes, you're going to need to be in West Lakewood, for the most part, West Lakewood, out in developments like Solterra. Why do people like Lakewood? Again, it really caters to a lot of different living styles. You can be super close to downtown Denver. You can be on the front range of the mountains and the foothills. You can be in areas kind of close to where I am called Belmar, which is our mock downtown. I don't know why I'm air quoting that, but we have our little Belmar walking mall here, and everything in between. So it really caters to the person who likes downtown, who likes the mountains, anything in between. Number 4 on the list, and despite being our rivals in a lot of sports as a kid, we have Wheat Ridge, Colorado. So Wheat Ridge is located also west of Denver, north of Lakewood, and Wheat Ridge is a decent sized community with a population of about 31,000 people. Nice things about Wheat Ridge: you have again a lot of different living options there. You've got newer homes, older homes, apartments, townhomes, etc. Wheat Ridge also has really quick access to 2 of my absolute favorite neighborhoods. So you have quick access to Sloan's Lake, you have quick access to the Highlands, you're also close to Edgewater, which kind of ties into Sloan's Lake. So Wheat Ridge gives you the ability to get to some of my favorite neighborhoods, at least in all of Denver, within a handful of minutes driving. Some of those neighborhoods you can even walk to. You're also, again, being on the west side of town, you are really close to I-70, which is going to be your fastest route into the mountains. So Wheat Ridge kind of gives that nice blend. You also have a stretch of road on 38th Avenue where there are plenty of businesses, your coffee shops, your gyms, kind of all of the amenities you need, the Sprouts, the Whole Foods, etc. So a lot going on in Wheat Ridge and a very popular location. Number 5 on the list, and a place that has really grown on me the older I have gotten, is ARVADA, Colorado. Located northwest of Denver, roughly 7 miles from downtown, depending. ARVADA, we like to joke, there's ARVADA and then there's FARVADA. It kind of stretches northwest. So you could be really close to downtown, or you could add another 15 to 20 minutes of drive time still being in ARVADA. But ARVADA is a very, very popular community for a lot of reasons. You could be close to the neighborhood of Old Town, which is their downtown, Old Town ARVADA, which has a lot of walk-only streets, pedestrian traffic only streets, and a lot of locally owned businesses in downtown ARVADA. Also, because of how large it is and some of the development, you'll see some older neighborhoods that, again, similar to kind of Lakewood and Wheat Ridge for that matter, have been around for decades upon decades. And then a lot of new construction as you get further into that FARVADA zone, as I like to mention it. ARVADA has a population of about 121,000, that is at least as of the 2020 census. And the feedback that I get from ARVADA, I grow more and more fond of the town really because of Old Town. I love the feel of downtown ARVADA, but it just gets a really warm reception from people who live there. They talk about how welcoming the community is, the different events they have. And again, that ability you have your little downtown if you want to go there. You can really get out onto some nice trails, a lot of green, a lot of outdoors, hiking, biking, etc. in ARVADA. And then again, as I always mention, when it comes to towns on the west side of Denver, you have that quick access to get into the mountains if that's your thing. All right, number 6 on the list, we're gonna head north up to Westminster. So Westminster, again, a straight shot up I-25, one of the more popular suburbs to the north of Denver. Again, the heart of Westminster is roughly 9 miles away from downtown Denver. In Westminster, again, a lot of different living options there. Again, I think so far, Lakewood is really the only community I would say where your newer construction envisions goals, trying to find the right words, will be limited. Westminster has a lot of different options there. So again, you'll have some older homes on bigger lots with mature trees and all of those things. And then you'll have some newer construction and maybe some neighborhoods that are a little tighter. Westminster has some great shopping. They are still trying to figure out kind of their downtown plan. There are some projects going on right now, but I don't think I think it's more of a walking mall than it is a downtown. To me, it's kind of similar to Belmar here in Lakewood, but Westminster is a very popular area, and affordability for a while was driving a lot of people in that direction. Not necessarily now cheaper than an ARVADA, a Lakewood, an Englewood, but in that same range. And your population of Westminster runs around 113,000. What you'll find, and as I spoke to people about who live in Westminster, is that Westminster is really close to parts of ARVADA, North Glen, and Thornton. So you'll have some kind of interlooping there, including even parts of Broomfield to some extent. So if you're in the Westminster area, you may bounce over into some of these other communities for their shops, their malls, their restaurants, what have you, but there's a lot going on in Westminster and plenty to keep people happy. Number 7, and I certainly could have started with this, and that is Aurora, Colorado. So Aurora is basically all of east of Denver. Once you get outside of the city and you're moving east for a long time, north and south, you're going to see is Aurora. Aurora is a massive, massive suburb. Because of that, its population sits at about 386,000. It's actually the 3rd largest city in the state of Colorado, behind Denver and Colorado Springs. And so, whereas I've said in other communities that you have a variety of living options, Aurora exemplifies it beyond any other, because you have, again, neighborhoods that were built at the same time Denver was being built. You have homes that were built, near the beginning of the 20th century, I almost said 19th century, near the beginning of the 20th century. And then because of how flat Aurora can be and how much space they have, you'll see some of the more popular new construction sites in Aurora. That stretches north into neighborhoods like Central Park. It stretches east into neighborhoods like the Aurora Highlands, which are really gaining popularity, and I'll have a video coming on that neighborhood very soon. And then as you get southeast, you get into neighborhoods like South Shore, Talons Reach, Blackstone. So when it comes to Aurora, I think of any of the suburbs that you're going to look at, I look at Aurora as having by far the most living options. Now, Aurora, when I get phone calls, typically Aurora, poor Lakewood, where I'm from, tend to be the ones where people say, well, I heard they have a lot of crime, or I've heard this about. And Aurora had a reputation for that. Just as, again, I would say Lakewood does. There are plenty of areas in Aurora that are going to appeal to anybody. And I think just like anywhere in Denver and anywhere in a bigger city, you're going to want to do your due diligence as far as crime stats. You're going to want to get a feel for the neighborhood. Crime tends to follow denser populations, not necessarily all the time, but they do. You're going to want to do your due diligence there. But as far as that reputation with Aurora, same thing I would say with the reputation in Lakewood, a little outdated. There's certainly areas that you'll get a sense for that might not fit your needs, but overall, don't let that reputation cover an entire suburb. I mean, Aurora is massive. Just a few more to go. So wrapping east, now back down south, we go to Greenwood Village, home of the Denver Tech Center. So Greenwood Village can kind of have a higher price point to some extent, but you'll see a lot of detached homes and townhomes, a ton of really nice apartments, areas like Landmark, where you'll have a bunch of different restaurants and shops to go to there. Some really nice apartments in that area as well. So Greenwood Village gives you that quick access. You're obviously home to the tech center. You got some really great neighborhoods. So surprisingly, there's not as much walkability in Greenwood Village as you might imagine. I mean, there's some between neighborhoods, but as far as like going to shops and being able to walk around neighborhoods, I don't really get that sense in Greenwood Village. It is home to some of the nicest restaurants that you're going to find in all of Denver. People will tend to, for whatever reason, that the tech center is just become the home to those. So you'll have a lot of people that are driving into that area for restaurants like Shanahan's, Del Frisco's, Eddie V's, etc. A lot of steakhouses, some sushi thrown in there if you're a big sushi fan. So Greenwood Village is going to be popular for that. And again, the tech center is such a huge draw to that community. Ninth up on the list is Centennial. Centennial and Greenwood Village are kind of intermingled, also south of Denver and kind of stretching southeast of Denver. Centennial, very popular community. I will admit, it's one of the more challenging communities for me to cover because Centennial has an airport. A lot of private airlines and jets will fly in and out of Centennial. So for that reason, I'm not allowed to fly my drone in a lot of areas of Centennial, understandably so. Centennial, really known for great schools. It's known for really safe. A lot of feedback I get from colleagues, friends, and people who I've helped buy homes down in Centennial is the fact they feel safe in the community. They enjoy the community aspect. Some really great neighborhoods in Centennial. And again, you have that access to the tech center. You can get up to Denver pretty easy. And for the most part, coming out of Centennial, you're jumping on C470, and that will eventually wrap you up into the mountains. Or I should say C470 will give you access to I-70 or others that will head you into the mountains. Lord knows people love, of all the things I talk about in these videos, they love to correct me on anything I say as far as drive times or roads that don't actually go through the mountains. We'll just forget that part altogether. And then number 10 on the list, and much like ARVADA, a place that I grow more and more in love with as I get older, and that's Littleton, Colorado. Littleton, if you Google it, is going to look like a relatively smaller sized town south of Denver. In truth, Littleton has a massive footprint in its unincorporated area. So you'll see downtown Littleton, which is just off of a road called Santa Fe. Santa Fe comes out of Denver, it heads south. And so downtown Littleton will be just off of Santa Fe, maybe a 20 to 25 minute drive out of the city, depending on traffic. Could be a little longer, but around 20 to 25 is safe. Now, as you look west, a lot of that area moving west all the way up to Lakewood to the north is all unincorporated Littleton. So areas like Columbine, Beaumar, Kencarl most will have a Littleton address. So Littleton gives, again, a lot of those options. You could be close to downtown Littleton, which is just this great stretch. Main Street is about 4 or 5 blocks, roughly 4 or 5 blocks of your shops and your boutiques. And to me, one of the best downtowns, I mean, that and Arvada are my two, like, 1A, 1B towns as far as these suburbs. So a lot to do there. You could spend an entire day in downtown Littleton, or Littleton gives you the option to be as suburb gets. And as you head west, you get into neighborhoods like I mentioned, Ken Carroll earlier. That is a community that, I mean, you'll feel like you're in the mountains. Doesn't tend to be a lot of properties up for sale in that community, and the price point can be higher. But man, some really cool places, great neighborhoods. So Littleton gives that whole flex. Now, I know as people are watching this, and especially people who may be more familiar with Denver, they're gonna say, well, Jimmy, man, you didn't talk about Broomfield, and you didn't talk about Castle Rock, and I don't know, you didn't talk about, Thornton. Maybe I should have thrown Thornton in. My goal here was to give you the 10 that are technically closest to Denver. Those were the 10. Are there some other suburbs you should check out? Absolutely. As I mentioned, check out Broomfield, check out Parker, check out Castle Rock, check out Highlands Ranch, among others. And if I didn't list them yet, that is a perfect opportunity to call me and ask me about other suburbs. We could talk about the burbs all day. I'll even invite Tom Hanks. That's a movie reference. It's okay if you don't get it. In the meantime, this is Destination Denver, Colorado. I'm your host, Jimmy Everetts. That was the 10 best suburbs close to Denver, Colorado. And until I see you next time, peace.